Welcome to Next Week Podcast, episode 27.
Woohoo!
I just remembered that you said our 20. You remembered that our episode 23 was the Jordan episode, so now.
Me?
Yeah, that was you.
Hmm.
So now I feel challenged to come up with. This is our John Carlos Stanton episode, our Mike Trout episode 27.
Okay. I still think we should have started over and done a season 2.
No, let's just keep it going.
It's like a Love Island. There's like a million episodes in one season.
Well, that's kind of how podcasts typically work. It just kind of goes forever.
There's
Like
seasons.
Some of the big ones are on like episode like 500. They just do it every single week.
Can only hope.
One day, 10 years down the line.
We'll get there to 500.
Like actually.
We gotta start doing it daily.
Oh my goodness, that'd be a lot. But anyway, we do appreciate you all being here. Thanks for listening. We'll be on here for an hour, but if you'd like to chat with us, we are on Discord as well at all times. We also now release YouTube videos on Wednesdays at 3 Central. That's the new Next Week News format there. Plus the usual daily episodes come out at 6 p.m. Central on TikTok and Instagram at Next Week News. And we'll also be on Patreon for an extra half hour. And we do have a theme for that today, which we can tell you. But all of that is linked at nextweeknews.com.
Thank you. Thanks for all that info. It was very helpful.
You are so welcome. I didn't read it off a screen.
So the Patreon, the extra half hour, if you're part of the Patreon, you get to listen to us talk about today. Da-da-da-da!
This is kind of a big reveal. I didn't mean for it to be, but we're the Sensitive Mutter. We've been posting on there for the 40 or so followers that it's gotten since we made a bit about it. So sometimes a Next Week News bit, I like it enough that it kind of takes on a life of its own. Even though it's not necessarily a popular one, I'm like, you know what? I like the Sensitive Mutter. Someone who loves to mud, but also is not afraid to show some vulnerability. So we've been making some impact font memes from that. And our Patreon episode for this week, for the extra half hour, is going to be us workshopping a bunch of Sensitive Mutter memes.
Yeah, I've been thinking about mud all week long and trying to tap into my sensitive part, like, you know, part of my heart. So
it's tough for you, isn't it?
Yeah. The mudding part was easy. So
mudding part's so easy.
Yeah. So you got to join the Patreon and you get to hear some of our sensitive mudding content. I'm excited for it.
And we'll also probably just post them on the account.
Oh, yeah, true.
The Sensitive Mutter.
Well, some of mine aren't necessarily able to be posted in that way.
Are they, like, personal?
No. You'll see when we get there. And if you're part of the Patreon, you'll see. And maybe if there's good clips, you can post it on the Next Week Cast Instagram to give them a little taste of what they're missing.
Okay. You are so good at, like, hinting and leaving cliffhangers to make people join the Patreon. I'm just like, yeah, that's what we're doing. If you want to join.
It's not even on purpose. I don't want to spoil it to you, honestly. I even told him the stuff I came up with.
That makes sense. Also, time permitting, we do have some submitted prompts to go through, which is the purpose of the Patreon episode, is to kind of be our out of character, off script version of the podcast.
Yeah. So if you have any ideas for games or content like the Sensitive Mutter that you want us to
you can make us talk about whatever.
Well, to an extent.
Within reasonable bounds. All right. Oh, I got a new computer this week, which is nice. I did
applause.
Give my MacBook Pro 2015 some kudos last week after posting the YouTube video. Mm-hmm. Just for it made it through.
And then
barely.
You went and replaced it.
It squeaked by. I didn't replace it. I gave it a much needed retirement into just purely email and looking at Google Sheets, which is what it needs to do, and not
quasi-retirement.
Yeah, not process all of the videos that Next Week News has.
Yeah, so it's like it doesn't have as much pressure as it did when it was like full on part of the workforce. And it doesn't really need to be that sole provider anymore, but it doesn't want to like feel so useless, and it still wants to have that little bit of purpose and needs something to do with its time. So it's kind of quasi-retirement.
I do kind of have this hesitancy when I'm buying new things that I you know, like you think like, oh, I need this shiny new thing. It's gonna make life so much easier.
Yeah,
And like once I have this,
and it
everything's gonna be
does.
fixed. It never really does, but this one did.
Always does.
Like I was able to keep all of my promises, which I'm never usually able to do with Next Week News in terms of like putting out content. But like this new thing is awesome. It's making editing fun.
Yeah, he's been spending more time with it this week than he has with me.
Hey, I was sick. I
He
was
had a
like,
cold.
whatever. It was enough that I had to stay in.
Yes. I didn't say you didn't have a reason, but
Anyway, we do have a couple of, I guess, I've called them disturbances. I guess maybe this is disclosures. There's practicing for the Air and Water show going on. So if it sounds like we're being like bombarded by a squadron of military fighter jets, it's because we
kinda are.
We are.
it's the Chicago Air and Water Show, which happens every summer. And it's just the jets. What are the blue
Yeah, the Blue Angels.
The Blue Angels, the jets, and I think there's boats. I don't know. But yeah, they do practicing during the week, and it's
They got parachuters this year.
Oh, really?
That's what I saw.
Wow. But it's the loudest thing ever, and it's, oh my God, it's horrible.
It's one of those things that the city of Chicago is really good at, which is like really cool ideas and like they're cool, but functionally they raise some question marks in terms
Yeah.
of the like how it all gets put together. Because like, you know, a million people go see this thing on the weekend, but if you bring the Blue Angels in, like they got to practice. You're not just going to send them out there
Yeah.
like not warmed up. So
Yeah.
that means that Thursday and Friday from like noon to 3. When I moved to the city a couple years ago, there's no warning that this happens. Suddenly,
really isn't.
suddenly there's just a squadron of fighter jets like 200 feet above you, and it's loud.
Yeah.
It is like room shaking loud. Like
Yeah.
they're at, like full on fighter jets.
Yeah. Every year, there's probably so many people who are like, oh my God, we're under attack. Like, this is so scary.
I was at lunch. Like I was walking outside to get lunch, like just at work, and like they probably forgot it was going on. There was no warning of this, and suddenly the Blue Angels are just like right there, like straight above my head, and I'm like, what is going on? Like I had
Like, yelp and run.
that was the most panicked lunch break I've ever had.
Immediately go to Google. Are we being attacked?
Might have texted my
Yeah.
boss like, did you hear that? Did you see that? I think there's what even are like F-16s or something. Who knows? I just made that up. They might be. You never know.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the one major disturbance of the week. And then there was a second one.
Oh, also, the one time I leave the studio to make a video and go outside, I let like a fly in, and that thing is like attached to me.
Is it that little?
Yeah, it's
that
the
little
little
one.
one.
I saw it flying around actually, and I was gonna squat at
We
it.
might
I see.
need
I
like
don't
a swatting montage at the end of this thing.
see. This is a debate that we've actually had. Is he calls those flies, and I call them gnats. It's like it's not a house fly. It's like the tiny little guys. I just call them gnats or
The little one
a
that kind of
bug.
just floats around and never lands and
Yeah.
is always following you.
Yeah, he calls them, which it makes sense. Like I don't know, he calls it fly, and I just call it a gnat. So when he said fly, I was like, oh, like a house fly. But I saw a little gnat flying around. So
It's a
feel free to
regional
weigh
dialect.
in of what you would call the little gnats.
We are anxiously awaiting your reply. Well, I don't think you sent me any tweets this week. I did look this time. I just assumed last week.
Yeah, no, I don't think I did.
So, in that case, that was a lot of intro. We can jump right into it. The submissions for this
Oh
week.
yeah.
What you're probably all here for.
Will your submission get read? Listen to an hour to find out. 50 minutes, I guess, at this point.
Unless you're the first person. Then you know.
Oh yeah, true. Or just fast
Now.
forward, or just listen to the whole thing. I don't know. So the first one is submitted through Instagram. Ben_myth. They said, quality of life update. More lizards will appear by your local gas station.
This is like a brand new thing for here.
Yeah, I never see any lizards.
No lizards
here,
of any kind.
TBH. But so it's a quality of life update. So either and it doesn't say whether it's good or bad, whether it's going to make my quality of life better or worse.
I think
is
it's kind of just an enrichment type thing, like a for your viewing pleasure update. They're adding lizards.
Pleasure?
Yeah, I like looking at lizards. Maybe like
It's
little
okay.
ones, like salamander type things. Are those lizards? No,
Yeah,
kind of.
sure. We'll call it
They look
that.
like lizards.
Mm-hmm.
We were just in a place where the lizards were kind of like the squirrels. Like they were just always
They
out
were
and
like
about.
iguanas, yeah.
Yeah, they were
They were
iguanas.
huge. I wonder if these lizards are like attracted to the gas, the gasoline,
They just love that gas.
or maybe the Slurpees or the hot dog rollers. It really could be anything, depending on
Honestly,
the gas
hanging out at the
station.
gas station, I don't blame them.
Yeah. They,
I'd like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The smell of gas
You
is
can.
delicious. Do you like the smell of gas?
To a little.
I love it. I need
Not
to
like too much.
It's one thing I miss about having a car that I just remembered is
Getting those
that
whiffs.
sweet smell
Yeah.
of gasoline. I don't have a car here. I haven't smelled gas in a while.
If that gnat comes near me, I'm gonna. Sorry if I clap too loud near the microphone, but I'm gonna try to get it.
Between the air and water show and the fly, we might have a lot of cuts this week, just to keep the audio clean. Are you looking forward to lizards? Like, do you want them? Just to put it bluntly, because I do want the lizards.
If they stay near the gas station.
Yeah.
I forgot I had a little rubber band in my hair, and I felt it, and I freaked out. I thought it was like a bug.
Does this have you like feeling things?
It's just a little rubber band.
Does this have you like imagining things that aren't there?
Yeah. God, now I got this piece of hair out. Okay, just continue.
Oh boy. First prompt has already got Mary worked up over there.
All out of sorts.
Well, shall we jump to the next one?
Yes.
This one is from. Let me piece this one together. Is it? Well, I'm just gonna spell it. It's from @ALESIRERPK.
I think it's Ale Sire RPK.
Ale Sire RPK. This one's from Ale Sire RPK. Next week, you will have at least one guaranteed crossover episode day where all of your different friend groups get together. Friendship experts are reporting that it will indeed be awesome, and it will end with one person saying, "Wow, that was cool." The groups will split apart and walk off into the sunset.
Wow.
That's cute.
This is really based on the assumption that you've got multiple groups of friends, let alone one group of friends.
Is this for us or for in general? I never know.
I feel like it's probably general.
Probably in general. I like that.
That would be fun. That means I get to see my friends.
Crossover episodes that go well. It's happened sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but those are the best. Like when it's your friends, like your friend groups too. Like it's always a little bit awkward to be in like one of the friend groups. That's
But
part
if
of the crossover.
Everyone from the groups are there.
And they know you. They all know you, and you know all of them, but they don't
Yeah.
all know each other. And
Yeah.
it goes well.
Uh-huh.
That's an awesome feeling.
Uh-huh. But maybe they've met before, so they're all kind of like a little bit friends, a little bit familiar with each other. Yeah. These crossover episodes, like that they used to do on TV, are always like legendary. Those are the best. Did you ever watch any of those?
No. You know I haven't watched any television ever.
Well, it's like Jimmy Neutron and like the Fairly Odd Parents and stuff.
Did they have a crossover episode?
Yeah, I think they did. And then like Sweet Life on Deck, Hannah Montana, stuff like that, they did it.
Oh, I just assumed that she was like part of that.
No.
See, I never like kept track of these shows. I just watch them if they were on. I'd be like, oh, Hannah Montana. Didn't know she was part of Sweet Life on Deck. Okay, and that would just that would just like not register with me.
Okay. I like how this ends too with the groups walking off into the sunset.
I did take a bit of liberty with this one in terms of rewording it, and I like the idea that they both separately walk off into the sunset in different directions.
I didn't even think about that. I was imagining them going.
That's not the way that this was initially sent in, but I changed the tone a bit to match the way that I usually read it. And I like the idea of two separate sunsets that we each walk off into.
I think it's maybe because it's not like a literal sunset. It's just the concept of they're walking off of the horizon. It's the end of another day.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's a weight off the shoulders when everyone gets along. Because usually there's some stressing that goes into that.
Yeah, for sure.
This is actually kind of happening with us this weekend, probably. It happens occasionally. But it'll be fun. It's usually fun. Actually, I don't think it's ever not been fun.
Yeah, no, it's always been fun. Sometimes it's maybe a mini crossover episode. Sometimes it's maybe a mega one, but no matter the size, usually it's a blast.
This one will be Probably more of a mini one.
Yeah, a mini crossover.
And I'm excited to walk off into the sunset. I don't think I've done that, if I can recall.
I
Is it
haven't recently.
like it's nice to watch someone walk into the sunset, but to be the one walking into the sunset, is that kind of an awkward experience, do you think? Like you're just kind of going.
It's probably really bright.
It's probably really bright. You're just facing it the whole time. You're just like shielding your eyes, but you can't because you have to look cool
Uh-huh.
from the perspective of the main character.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, I guess, next week. We can make sure we're part of the groups that also walk into the sunset.
Well, it is our friend groups that are going to be splitting apart. I don't think that includes us. We just watch them each go their separate ways.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that maybe we can try to make ourselves be included and just walk straight. They
So
split
there's
off and we
no-
go straight.
There's no main character that's observing this. Everyone's just walking into the sunset.
Yeah. It's the general you who's the one back there kind of watching. Maybe we can set up a camera so we can see how cool it looks.
We do like the indefinite they here. There can be just like a they who's watching.
Yeah.
Just some undefined
Yeah.
party.
No, they see it.
Yeah.
They watch us.
They
all
watched us walk into the sunset.
Mhm.
I like it.
Haven't seen the sunset in a while. Maybe we should do that.
That was a sad statement there. Haven't seen the sunset in a while.
I haven't seen the sunset or the sunrise in a while.
You know what we like here is a good power line sunset. That's what we get in Chicago.
Yeah.
Sunset through the silhouettes of power lines.
That is probably the last time I've seen it, yeah. Just through the alley and it's just wire.
Like
wire.
over the top of dumpsters
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful. It's kind of beautiful.
heartwarming.
Yeah. So this one is from, so on Instagram it's the Jingleheimer, and on TikTok it's just Jingleheimer. And they said, an interview with somebody from the accidents department revealed that various oopsies are getting rebalanced next week. Insider Rick Sticks says some things are just too likely or unlikely. Stubbed toes will be half as likely. Food falling off eating utensils will be 3 times more common. And they're adding a new oopsie as well. Be extra careful when using your computer next week because your cursor can now fall out of your screen. Any aggressive movement or shoving it against the edge of your screen may cause the cursor to just drop out of the monitor.
I don't like that new oopsie. That's kind of something that, like, you try. You know it's not going to happen. You're like, I'm just going to slam the cursor against the edge of the screen. If that thing managed to pop out, that would freak me out.
Yeah, what do you do with it then?
Yeah, I think I'd be a little bit freaked out by that.
Do you tend to have aggressive movements or shove it against this edge of your screen a lot?
Well, watch what I'm doing here. I got a split screen going. Like, imagine if I
Oh.
went to do that. I've got my screen here, and it's playing on the big screen as well.
It trips and falls on the way.
Yeah.
Falls out in the middle of the floor here.
It like knows it has to get there, so you see it like hustling to get back to the other screen.
I think it would roll, yeah.
How would a cursor walk? Would it scoot? Would it use its like the stem of the pointer to like scoot along? Or do you think it would roll?
I think it would have the momentum and it would roll.
Or do you think it would be like almost two-dimensional and just like flop?
No, I think it would roll.
You think it would roll? I like the scoot idea. Or what if the stem actually just splits into 2 legs and it's running?
Whoa, that'd be cool. Or it's like it can jump. I don't know. But okay, we got a little sidetracked.
Do you think the cursor would be wet if it fell out of the screen?
No.
I think it would be. Are the inner mechanics of computers?
It looks
I
wet.
like to picture them as wet.
It does look wet. I'll give you that.
It looks like it should be wet in there.
Huh.
I'm wet.
Should we take it apart and find out what? Yeah, I guess you do have blood inside.
It looks wet. Would the cursor just be like
Soggy.
dripping, like maybe not wet, but like
Damp.
holographic green slime?
Sure.
Anyway, you're an oopsie person. How do you feel about stub toes being less likely? I'm loving that one.
Very excited. Yeah, stub toes are like the worst oopsie that there is, in my opinion. Besides, like spilling water. I'm glad. Yeah, they haven't mentioned spilling water here at all. I tend to spill water a lot, or I go through like phases of I'm in my like spilling water era. Luckily I'm not right now, but when I am, there's water everywhere all the time. It's the worst.
It really is funny to just like be in another room with you there and just hearing oopsies, because that could be anything from like you were like, I don't know, carrying some papers and one like got shifted slightly, or you like dumped a whole thing of water out onto the floor. It gets the same oopsies either way. It could mean anything.
It really could.
But I must say, there is something about living alone and stubbing your toe that is the absolute worst experience ever.
There's no one there to feel bad for you.
You just have to like sit there, just like head in hands, and just be like internally fuming. Like you can be like, oh, ow, ow, ow. It's reaching nobody.
Yeah. You said head in hands. I would usually have toe in hands. And maybe like one up here, like biting my finger, like, ah! And then one in a toe. Because that's like I don't know if it's just a mental thing or an actual thing, but like when you put the pressure on, like when you stub your toe or there's any kind of injury like that, like it like makes you think that it feels better.
Your instinct is to grab.
Yeah.
Although living alone and stubbing your toe feels like it shouldn't count.
Yeah.
So I kind of just like pretend it didn't happen, even though it really, really hurts. You're kind of just like, didn't happen.
Well, now it'll at least be half as likely. But I mean, food falling off eating utensils 3 times more common. We're gonna have to really think, maybe extending that 5-second rule to like 10 or 20 if it's gonna be 3 times as more common.
That could be necessary.
I can't be losing 3 times as much food and just not eating it.
I don't lose my food off my fork all that much.
But it's going to be 3 times more common.
Well, I eat a lot of stabbing foods. So if it's 3 times as common, that's like,
it can still fall off.
0.0 or like 0.1% goes to 0.3%. That doesn't bother me all that much. Instead of dropping a bite back into the bowl every third meal, I just now do it once a meal. I probably wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, I guess if your baseline is 0, if you 3 times 0, it's still 0.
I'm just low-key goated with the spoon.
I'm just going to be eating...
Expert soup slurper.
I'm just going to be eating sandwiches and handheld things next week, I think, to avoid any risks.
Do you think, like, that'll increase the chances of, like, a blob of jelly popping out? Or, like, a cheese dripping or something like that?
It already does.
So that doesn't bother you all that much? It's kind of accounted for.
Yeah.
If it happens 3 times as much, it's just fine.
Well,
I guess you could scoop it back up.
Yeah, in my mind, this was falling onto the floor. But I guess if it just falls right back into the plate or the bowl, like, yeah, I'll just pick it up and eat it.
Like, it's frustrating, but not hugely consequential.
Yeah, unless 3 times more common, though. If you do it sometimes, like, then 3 times more, that would be very frustrating. Especially if you're in a hurry, you're trying to eat fast, or you're really hungry. Just
Don't be in a hurry when you're eating.
Yeah.
I guess is the conclusion of this one.
Yeah, and don't be aggressive with your cursor.
Be very careful. I now have to move it to the other screen. And we made it.
Good job.
I'm going to be so gentle with this thing now.
I know, I've never thought about it as, like, sentient, but now I am.
It's just there, watching. I'll move it out of the way.
Damp.
Stay down there.
I can see it.
Now it popped up the menu.
It's watching.
Okay.
Don't. Oh my god, now it's an arrow.
Just ignore it. It's a whole different guy when it's an arrow.
Okay.
The next one is from Anonymous, as in nobody put their name there. There's no name. But there are reports coming in from next week of a massive weather disappointment. Our team of meteorologists have been hard at work, but have not yet determined what type of weather it is. All we know is that your day will be ruined and your plans will have to change.
So we think it's... They don't know exactly what type of weather it is, but whatever it is ruins your day.
Yep, just whatever type of weather it would be that ruins your day.
Yeah. Considering that it's like summer right now here, I can only imagine that it's probably... It said it was going to be like stormy and like a really gloomy day, and so my plans were probably to stay inside, read, sit on the couch, watch a movie, TV or something, and then it ended up being like a beautiful sunny day, and then I feel all this pressure to have to go outside and like enjoy the weather and like do fun stuff outside. And it just like kind of ruined my plans, and I have to change them, and I don't want to have to do that. That's probably what it is.
Or like a tornado.
But
That could
how would that ruin my, or how would that like change my plans or ruin my day? Then I'll stay inside.
You could get bonked in the head with hail.
Or a shark.
Or a shark. Sharknado. We're back on Sharknado.
All roads lead to Sharknado.
Every episode of Next Week podcast leads to Sharknado being mentioned.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess it could be a tornado. But that would be I guess, depending on how bad it is, a disappointment. But you like when there's exciting weather. Like, if it storms and stuff, you'll just sit there at the window and, like, watch.
I do. I also do like to be really dramatic about, like, a small rainstorm that happens when it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're outside enjoying the day and suddenly the clouds come in. And it's not even that bad, but I just love to be like, why me? About it.
I like to be like, when we get to where we are and then it starts raining. Good thing we got here when we did.
When you just step inside, like, knowing that you had, like, 20 minutes to get there and waited till the last second that you could go, and then it becomes a good thing we got here when we did.
Yeah. So I imagine if it was supposed to maybe storm and it didn't, that would maybe also be a disappointment for you, because you wouldn't get to like watch your thing. Whenever there's a storm, you're always on your weather app, like watching it and like seeing like,
I
look at
guess.
those winds.
I'm a weather nerd.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me feel bad sometimes because, like, you know, it affects people's lives. Have I mentioned on this thing before that, like, I feel like I could be a storm chaser and be like, you know, if there was no like financial or risk aspect to it, I'd love to do that. Although now that's becoming kind of a thing.
With twisters?
With twisters.
Or with drones?
What?
I don't know. Continue. I shouldn't
Well, drones, you can just, like, you know, fly the drone in there.
That's what I'm saying. I shouldn't be interrupting. I'll let you finish.
I feel like it's become a thing recently where, like, storm chasers are now being kind of made fun of a little bit.
Really?
Because it's for that exact reason. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you're just, like, driving around. I guess there's storm chaser drama.
Really?
Of people, like, driving recklessly and stuff. And, like, all the storm
Oh.
chasers kind of know each other. Because, you know, there's not that many people who do that. Mm-hmm. But, like, it kind of becomes the thing where it's like, why are you devoting your life to this? And it's cool. Like, I like it. I've kind of always liked it. But
we got to see twisters.
if I wouldn't be validated by everybody, then what's the point?
Yeah, true.
If there are people who oppose what I do, then I just can't do it. We do have to see twisters. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to, because that was the ride at Universal ? That scarred me as a child, going to the Twisters ride as like a literal infant.
I feel like that is part of the child theme park experience, is to have something that just ruins your
Twisters and Jaws.
Like, your memory of it is not like, oh, we had so much fun at like Magic Kingdom or something. It's like, we went to Bugs Life 4D and freaked out. That's my memory of it. They sprayed air at you and everyone started screaming.
We could see Twisters in 4D.
We could.
Oh, that would be cool.
I
have to wear a jacket. It might get windy.
We'd have to, like, go to the suburbs, though, wouldn't we? I don't think they have one of those 4D theaters here.
Probably.
You'd think they would. We're in a big city, but
We'll look into it.
I'm also just, I don't know. There could be one.
Yeah,
There could easily be one.
I think the only thing I've ever seen in 4D was Shrek.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. I don't remember it.
What did they 4D about it?
I don't remember.
Just
probably like gusts of wind,
onion
and sprays
smell?
of water. Yeah.
Chemical, like synthetic onion smell.
I don't think
I don't
would
think
do
I'd
that.
like
They
that.
don't do smells in 4D, do they?
They did with the stink bug in Bugs
Really?
Life 4D.
Ew.
I can remember that from being like 4 years old.
That's gross.
That might have been like the final catalyst of us just leaving early. And like very
blame you.
early. Like, it felt like they had like little bumps of like ants crawling underneath you. They had little sprays of
Ugh.
water, but I think the stink bug is what got to us.
Ew, yeah, a Bug's Life. Ugh, I could never.
No, you would not like that. Still to this day, you'd probably have the exact same reaction.
Yeah.
That we get made fun of for what we did as children. Anyway.
What were we talking about?
We
Weather?
were talking about weather disappointments. Maybe it'll rain
Weather
ants. That
disappointments
would be
what?
disappointing to you if it rains ants. That would ruin your day.
That would ruin a lot of days. Ew, why would you bring that up?
Because that's the prompt. Ruining days. Well, now that we've succeeded, we'll jump to the next one. We'll see if Mary talks. Oh, she has to. She has to read this one.
So on TikTok and Instagram at esteban.r_m. I was read my own name that was there.
Mary.
So they submitted, you will develop a new sense called Hargus, mostly sensed by your hair. Sorry, bald folks. This new sense will grant you the ability to detect the electricity levels of neighboring areas and also providing physical stimuli such as follicular tension, capillary numbness, and more.
Great work.
A lot of hard words there. Did I pronounce it right?
I think so.
Follicular tension? No.
Like follicles.
Yeah, like follicular.
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 That's how I'm going to say it.
Capillary.
No.
Capillary numbness.
2 L's does not equal that in this language.
Okay.
Is this kind of like us having whiskers?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that what this does?
But can whiskers, with some fun
With some extra special
qualities,
powers?
yeah, detecting electricity levels, which is interesting. Like I can see if my neighbors have electricity or not.
Yeah, you can like test if a plug is live. You could plug yourself in. Do you think it hurts you?
No. Unless you...
Is that... Wait a minute. Is that what like certain marine animals do? Like they have the ability to sense that?
Do they?
That was an unnecessary interruption.
Is there electricity underwater?
Oh yeah. Eels.
Oh. And stingrays, I guess.
And stingrays. I just
Maybe that's not
blindly agreed for like a
Oh,
half
because
second.
electric eels.
Yeah.
Stingrays is different.
Stingrays are, I think, a bit different.
Oh my gosh, I need to look into eels now. I need to find an article about it that doesn't have any pictures so I can read about
Good
their
luck.
electricity.
Those like biological articles love their pictures. You might just have to put it into like reader mode.
Oh yeah,
You could do that.
that'd be smart. I don't want to see the eels, I just want to know how their electricity works. But okay, also providing physical stimuli. I don't really
Like
get the rest of this.
I think that is like you can feel when you have like goosebumps,
Oh.
maybe. I know that there's capillaries in hair follicles. I don't know what the numbness would do.
There's capillary, aren't those like veins or something?
Yeah, like the what veins and arteries kind of like
Yeah,
branch
they
into
move with the heart. Uh-huh. And numbness.
and more.
This is complex.
There's a lot going on here. This is a very complex, well thought through sixth sense.
Yeah. Sorry, bald folks.
So bald people just completely lose all the ability. Like
Well, they never had it.
their hair follicles no longer exist.
I guess, yeah. I wonder if that's all. Is it just my head hair, or is that also like my eyebrows and arm hair and
Probably
stuff?
all of it. I mean, it's all kind of the same thing, right?
That's crazy.
Do you think this will make getting a haircut a whole different
That's what I was
experience?
thinking. Yeah, like if it would hurt, like plucking an eyebrow or cutting your hair.
I do kind of
Potentially.
like the idea that it would hurt them, but it doesn't necessarily hurt you. Like you get a haircut and you're like, "Youch!" But like you're fine. And they get over it. It's just necessary.
Yeah.
It's like cutting your cat's claws.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a perceived pain. They just don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt, but they resist.
Yeah.
They don't like.
That makes sense. So it's like if I was afraid of cutting my own nails.
Yeah.
Not that I am. I'm not. I can do it. I can cut my own nails just fine. I'm not afraid of it.
This is not the subject of all of your sensitive mutter prompts.
No.
All about not being afraid of the clippers.
No, it's
I
definitely
love
not.
mud and do not like, or will get over my fear of the clippers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Join the Patreon. And
Stole
find
one. Stole one of yours.
Out. You change it.
We'll move on to the next one. This one's from Tagi Haragi on Instagram. Some shocking news just in. French is no more. That's right. In a month-long process starting next week, every French speaker will gradually lose the ability to speak the language. There has been some speculation as to what will replace the language, which has over 300 million speakers, but personally, I'm hoping for Finnish. We are, however, getting reports that this will not affect the French accent, so unfortunately, French people will keep sounding like that, and they will retain their attitude and general smugness for the foreseeable future, even without their language.
C'est horrible.
Your Duolingo streak.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Is it just gonna, like, cease to exist?
Or it'll just maybe transform into a different language, whatever will replace it. I mean, I can just choose a
What
different.
a waste of time.
Hey, it'll still keep it if I switch languages.
Will it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I
That
can
doesn't
study
seem
whatever I
fair
want. Yeah, it
to the
does.
people who don't know. To the non next week news reporters, which is like the rest of the Duolingo population. Or maybe it is not something that they're concerned about, considering it's one person. They'll let you keep your streak.
No, they do. You can keep your streak. You can study whatever as long as you're studying something. I'm pretty sure they let you keep your streak. It's not just French.
So I could switch every day
Yeah.
and learn nothing.
Yeah.
That's fun.
But this is interesting. I wonder what it will mean for baguettes. I guess it's just the language.
It'll now be pronounced just the way you said it. In English.
Macaron. It has to be a macaroon. Those people who go up and
Macaron.
order. Or like the people who go up to Starbucks and be like, can I get a croissant? They have to say croissant.
Can I get a croissant?
A croissant.
You got to drop
or
the
croissant.
T. Drop the T. Like, merge all the vowels together. Put it into Midwestern English. Or non-accent specific English.
Mm-hmm.
What's that called? I recently learned that, and then I forgot.
Dialect. I was almost going to go for the gnat.
Add that one to the fly montage.
It would have probably my hands flying into your video.
Me getting whacked over here. Dangerous.
It's interesting. So this, the person who submitted this is hoping for Finnish. What language do you think should replace French?
Well, I think it might end up a lot like Gilbertese. Remember that one?
No.
Naturally. It all kind of just dispersed. That might have been mostly Dutch.
What is that?
Gilbertese?
Yeah.
It's the last one they phased out.
Oh. No, I don't even remember that.
Maybe only I do.
Weird.
I never learned how to speak it.
Huh. I hope they replace it with maybe English, because I already know that.
Pig Latin.
That my brain also went there.
All the French now speak Pig Latin. But that would be so much worse. And they have an attitude about it.
I went through that phase of you taught me how Pig Latin works, and then
You did not like the rules. You had a lot of
No.
challenges to the rules, and it's like, that's just how they are.
But then I got okay at it, and
Then
I
you
was
did.
saying it a lot.
That was quite a phase. It lasted a long time.
Maybe I'll get back into that.
Oh no. Just unlocked.
I would unleash it on you now if I remembered how it worked. So we'll have to go over it afterwards, and I'll unleash it next week.
I've done this once. I think I learned my lesson the first time around.
I'll just look it up on the
I
internet.
could just make up a whole new way and see if you go with it. You'll never know. You might know.
I might remember. That's okay.
But if you speak French, you probably can't understand anything we're saying.
Unless you speak both.
So we cannot warn you.
Yeah, I wonder. So they lose the ability to speak the language. If they only know French, is that going to be an issue? Or are they going to not know how to speak at all then? Or will they also know?
No, it just gets gradually phased, and then they wake up one day just knowing a different language.
Okay, that's good.
Like all of the nuances of it kind of go away. And then it's a whole new language. Kind of an even split between... Maybe like Portuguese seems to take up a lot of just kind of like, if they don't know what language to put there, they just go for Portuguese.
Mm.
So maybe French will now speak Portuguese.
That'd be cool.
It would make a lot of sense. They're right next door. Maybe Portuguese will now be referred to as French, and France and Portugal and Brazil will all speak the same language, and various other places.
That'd be neat.
I think that's probably the most likely outcome. I'd give that like betting odds of like minus 200.
Oh wow. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
What would your long shot be? What would your dark horse language be? I'm going with Dutch for what's going to replace it.
Have to think about what languages I know.
I think English is probably a close second behind Portuguese.
I'm thinking English, but it's like the Australian version.
They have like a different take on like the British / Australian
Yeah.
dialect.
Yeah. So it's like it's like the English language, but it's whatever weird versions they have and some of the words they say and stuff.
Can you try to give us an example?
No.
I do think that if you tried to do like a different, like if you tried to do a British or Australian accent, you could on the spot make up a third one accidentally. And maybe that's what'll take over.
Oh yeah. Well, they'll still have the French accent.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot that part.
Mm-hmm. I am not good at doing accents in general, and I do not want to attempt saying my one Australian phrase that I know in a French accent. I always said, well,
Is it good day, mate?
no, that's a good one. No, if I'm trying to ever get into an Australian accent, I have to go like shrimp on the barbie.
Well, you did it.
And I don't know how to do that in a French accent, but g'day mate is also a good one, or like, yeah.
Well, we got it out of you, even though you didn't necessarily want to.
Mm-hmm.
It slipped.
Yeah. When I mentioned it, I knew I had to.
All right. Well, if you know anyone who speaks French, hopefully they get over it.
Tell them au revoir.
That was much better than what I came up with.
So this one on Instagram, Laney's.scrapbook. On TikTok, Delaney.alexandra. I was thinking on Instagram maybe like they had an actual scrapbook, but I realized that's probably just a clever name for their Instagram page. Oh, it's like their scrapbook. It is kind of like a scrapbook. So Delaney.alexandra on TikTok says, the cat distribution system is facing some functional errors. In certain areas, specifically preschools, federal prisons, and KFCs, cat spawn rates will dramatically increase. Areas like Meemaw's house, one-way streets, and the state of Kentucky will experience little to no reported cat spawning. This is estimated to only last for a week, but could last as long as the next month. We will update you if this gets fixed sooner. Wow.
I have been noticing some cat distribution changes recently in our area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know where I'll be next week. I'll be at preschools, federal prisons, and KFCs looking for those cats. It's where you should be too.
Do you think the cats got in trouble? They're locked up.
No, I think it was just
They
Or
figured
they
out a way
liked-
to put cats in jail.
maybe, or they liked the chicken too. Maybe at KFC. Maybe it's all linked. They were taking the chicken from KFC, bringing it to preschools,
And that's
and
illegal.
feeding it to the kids, and with malintent, and then they got sent to prison, where they then continued to spawn. But then they didn't think about how that they could fit right through the bars, and so then they got out, and now they're just kind of around those areas.
I was going to challenge you to find a link between preschools, federal prisons, and KFC.
Easy.
And you just did it right on the spot. That was impressive.
Yeah. Or they're just all next door to each other.
Maybe. I hope not.
Probably not. But, okay. So, yeah, where there usually is a good amount of cat spawning, I would say. Meemaw's house, one-way streets, Kentucky. Usually there is a lot, but there'll be, like, they said, no reported cat spawning.
Oh, that's going to be an issue for us. All of the cats that we see are usually on one-way streets in this area.
You're right. But it's spawning, which is like reproducing, right?
Yeah, or just coming into existence.
Okay. That's what I was... Okay.
Ooh, Blue Angels alert.
Yeah, can you hear it? I thought they were done.
I don't know.
Well, they took a break. Maybe they
We'll
took
see how that sounds. If it's
maybe-
cool, we'll keep it.
maybe they took a lunch break.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, I do. There are a few cats that I rely on seeing whenever I go on my walk, and that would be very sad. They are indeed one-way streets. Cat distribution system. That's an important institution of the world, basically.
It's an algorithm that impacts a lot of people, and I don't think people are going to be very happy about this change.
Yeah, it's just a functional error. So once they get it fixed, I'm sure things will kind of return back to normal, and you can find those cats on the one-way streets and in the alleys and in Kentucky. So sorry to all you Kentuckians out there who were hoping to find a cat. You gotta go up to Tennessee or one of the other states around you,
Or just wait no more than a month.
or go to the adoption center. Adopt, don't shop.
We will be updated if this gets fixed sooner, though. So
Yeah, that's good.
hopefully this doesn't last more than a week. I enjoy looking at the cats that are out there. The next one is also an anonymous submission. This one really got me thinking. So next week, a special report on Next Week News will include a report on the news reported the following week on Next Week News. When you hear that report, which, to be clear, is not this week's report, but next week's, you may wonder what Nietzsche meant by eternal return as you spiral into a self-referential temporal paradox of recurrence. However, rest assured, the sensation you've completely lost touch with reality will only be a subjective, albeit lived, experience, and from the outside, you will appear as though nothing has really changed. So please, join us next week on Next Week News for that special report, in which we will report which will be reported the following week. Not this one.
That's a lot to take in.
So a lot of times whenever somebody asks what's next week news like in next week,
Yeah.
the answer is we don't know. There's we are next week news for the previous week. There's no us for our next week. So
Yeah.
anybody claiming to know more from the future wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
However, this one has kind of changed my mind about that a little bit. When you bring in the idea of the eternal return, I kind of should we declare it canon by user submission, anonymous fan submission, that Next Week News is just us reporting from managing to save. We've managed to transfer the data up from a previous occurrence of the universe up until this point that was identical, and we're just reporting on what happened the next week that last time.
I don't know if I'm following this line of thought that you said.
Okay, I said it the first time, kind of bounced around through
I'm
it.
sure they got it.
I'll try to go through it again and make it a little bit more concise. So
Okay.
I like the idea that we can canonize through an anonymous submission that the eternal return, which is everything that can happen, has happened in the past, there's cycles of the universe that happen over and over again, expansion, contraction, whatever, and anything that can occur has occurred and will occur an infinite number of times because time is infinite.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen the Marvel movies.
Yeah. So us reporting is just us somehow knowing what happened the next week in the previous iteration of the universe that was identical to ours up until this point.
Oh.
And it never really works out for us, but it's just what happened last time.
Oh.
Because it can branch out from the present. I like this idea a lot.
Wow.
I'm not sure if that's what was meant by this submission.
Yeah.
Although this seems like it's going to send people into a spiral because it's going to be a shorter term losing touch with reality thing where you just keep on doing the same thing.
Or just that moment where it's whoa, wait, and then you get all freaked out and then you're oh, I'm good. You ground yourself, you're centered. I'm definitely already kind of spiraling, but I'll get over it in like about 10 seconds.
So this will be the occurrence where the next week's news last time was that we reported on next week's news, and that just ruined everything.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that just confirms that we can't do it. People have asked for it, like, what's going on next week in next week's news? And the answer is you don't want to know.
Yeah, you don't want to know that far.
Unless you want to have a short-term complete loss of reality.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, a delight. Thank you.
We'll jump to the last one for today.
So this one is from You May Call Me Mr. Napkin If You Want To.
This one's from Mr. Napkin.
Mr. Napkin. Mr. Napkin says, a new dinosaur was just discovered. The Falsoraptor was a 6-foot-tall raptor with a distinct crest on its head that may have been used for communication. It was likely an omnivore that lived in the swamps of modern-day New Jersey.
Is this an Italian dinosaur?
It must be if it's from New
An
Jersey.
Italian transplant dinosaur.
The Falsoraptor.
When Pangea was there, Italy was walkable.
Mm.
And even back then, the dinosaurs went from Italy to New Jersey, even though it was like a couple hundred miles, and lived in the swamps.
Wow. 6 foot tall. Yeah, it's taller than you.
Weekly subject number 2, or weekly recurring bit number 2. Number 1, Sharknado. Number 2, I'm 5'11".
Sorry. It said 6 foot.
Check them both off the list.
Falsoraptor, so one, it's Italian, but an omnivore, okay, yeah. And its name...
It loves sausage and peppers.
And pasta. Its name...
Pasta and meatballs.
Its name, Falsoraptor, indicates to me that it is also a liar.
Ooh.
Falsoraptor. It's false. It's spreading false
It's
things.
the scheming dinosaur?
Yeah. Or it uses a falsetto. The falsetto raptor.
When it's growling, it's like hitting the high C. Beautiful.
That makes more sense, because like what would I have to lie about? Its height. It's lying about its 6 foot height.
Oh, that might have been an intentional part of the submission there. I like that. Mr. Napkin, you genius. I didn't pick that up first time. I hope that was intentional.
Yeah. So either the Falsoraptor is a liar, spreading falsehoods about its 6 foot height, or it only sings in falsetto, or both.
What do you think this distinct crest on its head is for?
It says it may have been used for communication. I personally am thinking that the Falsoraptor potentially was a line of royalty, and the crest was naturally there as a crown.
Oh.
And that's how you knew that, that's
So
that's Mr. King Falsoraptor.
They were such a long-term royal being.
Royal Italian family.
That they biologically took on the characteristics of the crown.
Or maybe, no, I think it happened the other way around. They saw the crest, they were like, that's a cool crest. Let's make them king and queen and royalty. I think that's how it happened, probably. What do you think the crest was for?
Communication.
Oh.
Do you think they can...
falsetto, really, to communicate its falsetto?
Maybe their regular voice is like normal, and then the crest can do a falsetto?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think I gotta see the bones and see what the crest actually looks like to decide if
we gotta let the scientists take over
for communication. I have to just see the bones. I don't need this. I just need the scientists, I guess, put them together. But maybe we can go to New Jersey, dig around.
Let me get a look at the thing.
Yeah.
Is that your take on it?
Yeah.
I think mine's gonna be once people who know what they're talking about figure it out, then I'll just go with that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Well, it seems like that'll do it for today. That
That'll
was our final submission. Thank you to everybody who sent stuff in. It's always very fun reading through all your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Got some very creative things to go through.
And join us in the extra half hour on the Patreon.
Will do.
Oh, it's next week news.